All right, welcome back to another video. So here's my parts, and what they are going to need is they are going to need UVs in the worst possible way. Real quick, easy on looking at this. Let's see what happens if we just go to UV shell, select everything, and do an unfold on it. Okay, well, that doesn't work out so bad. Lay it out. Got my sections. Okay, let's see what this looks like with the checkered board on. Not too shabby. I don't know that I would have honestly divided that up any differently. Your results may vary, but with what I had with my high poly, that was what that's not too bad at all. So let's do this from the get-go. So create, unless if I'd say a planar map, and then we're just looking at, let's see here, symmetry. Let's go back to object X, just to sort of save myself a little bit of clicking. Boom, basically that right there. And then go ahead and do the cut. And I could technically unfold that and it should be okay, but I'm going to go ahead and come down this other corner here. Boom, cut, and then we can go to shells. And then if I decided to go ahead and lay these out, end up with something like that, which isn't cool. But if we unfold, we end up with this, and then lay them out, and then it's going to give me these wonderful pieces just like that. We can clean this mess up later, but at least we know that all this stuff is ready to go. If we look at our squares, everything is consistent. Panel, perspective. Everything looks consistent, not a lot of distortion. All right, turn that off. Next section, this guy, we pretty well want to repeat the exact same process. So I'm going to create, I can do an automatic, object mode, create automatic. That gives me this. Not the worst in the world. You can see kind of what it's thinking, inside, outside, border edges, but object mode, let's go back and just create a planar. It's going to give me a side, which pretty smart, and let's go with edge. Honestly, what I want to do, try not to miss anything. Cut that. So I'm missing an edge someplace. About a whole bunch of edges. All right, that looks pretty good. These interfaces here, I'm trying doing a double select. Yeah, that kind of works. Go ahead and cut that. See if there's anything else that's missing. So now the windows are all separate pieces. Top should be a separate piece. This bottom section here, did I? Oh, I left that bevel. That's fine. Select that. cut it apart, and then what that leaves is the actual frame. And what I want to do is let's come across this way. Something like that. Go ahead and cut. And you can see it's going to remove that piece. I'm going to remove that piece. And so I have a I'll have a face, and then a face, and then a face, and then a face. And that should work out all right. So let me go ahead, go shells here, layout. Got all these pieces. Let's go ahead and unfold. And then layout. And we can kind of see everything here. If I look at distortion, everything looks nice and pristine. So that probably means that when we hit the cubes, we can see that the cubes are looking pretty nice, pretty consistent. All right, so that'll be that piece. This one's done. On the bottom down here, and turn off the grid. Cut the large cylinder off, have the middle cylinder, have the inside cylinder, and then we'll have the cone cap. And then what I want to choose is, since we'd probably be facing the object this direction, what I really want to do is find this back edge right here, select that, and go ahead and cut. This could stay welded together, it just depends, but if we unfold, we'll end up with something along those lines. Clean that up later. This guy right here is a total mess. Let's do a planar, object mode, planar, and it gives me a side view. Cut. Let me see something real quick. If I go to the shell, top and a bottom, let's see something. If I go to object mode and let's go to face. Oh, wow, they're not welded together. That's interesting. Things that you only find out when you're laying out UVs. So let's just take this and yeah, we'll merge those vertices because that needs to all be one wonderful piece, and then we'll go back and create a planar map. Yeah, sure. Now that means you're not welded. Oh, okay. Look at that little disconnection going on here. So let's go to vertice, take those two, weld it. All right, now it's all one wonderful piece. That was interesting. Any hoosies, let's go in here. Edge. I want that whole, yes, that whole outside. Let's go back to now attribute editor, UV editor, and then UV toolkit. Yes, thank you. Go ahead and cut that. And usually the way I do this is you could do the front face and unfold it, or you can take off each section individually. What I think I'm going to do is let's take we'll just do it that way. So I'm going to take this border edge here and I'm going to cut it. That will leave the rest of this kind of all connected. And if we go to UV shell here and hit unfold, we'll end up with two sort of sections. Oh, why didn't you unfold? So let's try something a little bit different. All right. There we go. So unfold U worked, but the other options seemed like they did not want to. Now this is just a ring that kind of faces the side. I'm going to take that edge here, cut it, and that way when I unfold it, it's going to turn into kind of a very straight object. Yeah, something like that. Clean it up later. All right. Okay, so top piece here. You can see it. The UV's pretty straightforward. What's at the top? So that's the top, and then that would be the bottom. I wonder if we do an unfold along U, click, let's stretch it out sideways, or a V, stretch it out vertical, and we end up with a shape that looks like this. And you can see it's not the best, not the most optimized. That pie up there is going to definitely be an issue. Or we could do it something along these lines. No matter what you do, there's not really a great, super easy way of laying out the UVs on a mesh like this. Ideally, you can come around and, if this was going to be a more detailed section, cut it along these rings, so that where these heavily distorted areas are, where the curvature is really changing, you could use that and lay it more out into strips and eliminate some of this distortion. As is, I'm not going to worry about it too much. Let's go to edge, select these guys, and stitch them together. And unfold one more time. And that kind of gives me something along these lines. I do want that edge to be cut. And that'll kind of balloon that out just a little bit. One thing that could be done if I wanted to really clean this up would be cut along something like that, so that this would lay out as a top piece, and then I could go down to the rest of it. But that'll do for what we're doing here. Back piece, that piece, this one, sure. Bottom still has issues, huh? So back cut. So that ring Why are you so many pieces? Let's turn symmetry off for a second. There we go. Alright, so now that's making a lot more sense. Edge, edge, sew those together, or stitch them together, and then unfold. There we go. There we go. So something like this is actually kind of interesting because you could unfold along and you could actually straighten these things out into a strip instead of a ring, but we'll just let it alone at the moment. All those pieces, all those pieces, all those pieces. Looks good to me. Yep. Then we've got this guy. So, oh, what do we have here? So this. Mode. So for this guy, it has a ring in the cylinder. I'll just go ahead and create an automatic. And that's actually not that bad if we take those edges. So all I did was take the UV shell that was automatically mapped and it just broke it up in chunks, and I mean I can still unfold it, but as a general thing is it just chunked it, and then I just identified each edge along that was broken up into sections and then just stitch those together, and that will create a pretty dang good UV layout for that shape. So same thing on this one. So create automatic, turn that off, and then go to edge and stitch together, and what you're looking for is when this edge here and this edge here both light up on either end, that means you have one seam left, everything else is in order. So stitch together, stitch together, stitch together, and then both ends are lighting up. So that's what we're kind of looking for. I'll straighten the UVs and unfold. I can straighten these UVs and also unfold, and I can unfold this if I want to, and that's just going to make it a little bit more accurate if a little more distorted. And then we have this wonderful thing, and if I create a automatic, it's going to give me a mess, so I'm going to undo that. If I create a planar, it's going to give me a side view, which is just about perfect. So what I want to do with this one, honestly, is let's turn the distortion off. Cut that, or basically right down the middle. And then same thing right up on this side. Go ahead and cut that. And then along the back, cut that. Now let's see if, nope, still all one shell. So let's cheat and hit unfold. And what we'll have is, you can see that I've got sections that are working and sections that are not working. Let's see, edge, what edge are you? Alright, so yes, we definitely know that this center here needs to be cut. Unfold, and then unfold, and then it looks like I've got some gibberish right in here, and I wonder, let's take edge Q, this, and stitch them together, and then this edge here, stitch together. So that works. Fold, unfold. Let's see what kind of a party we have going on in this little section. Remember, this is where the Boolean operation was, and then the, well, not only the Boolean operation, but yeah, the Boolean operation was occurring here, and then I did the welds, and so it's entirely possible that some things got a little upset. So let's just go back and we'll pin to polygon. And that will sort of doctor that section up, and at least as far as the geometry is concerned. Still looks kind of ugly, so what I'm going to do is take these faces like this and do a mesh triangulate, and let Maya kind of figure things out a little bit. So we have this section here and this section here, which is a little worse, and then these wonderful faces. So we'll stitch that and stitch that. You can see how everything's got really crazy when I'm trying to stitch it, but if I unfold, this will kind of work. Let's lay this out. And that will rescale everything back to the size it needs to be. And now let's see if we have any sort of strange polygons behaving strangely. Tool settings. I really want modeling toolkit, multi-cut. What are you? Oh, that's ugly. That's probably part of my problem, is that piece right here. So I'll use the multi-cut tool. Just want to be difficult, so I'll delete it. make one. It's just not a happy face. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with this. But it's giving me a fit. Let's just mesh tool. No, where are you? Mesh. Fill hole. And it rejects a fill hole. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to delete all the geometry that is giving me trouble. Looks like there was some strange faces going on there. Make a poly there. Make a poly there. Make a poly there. Pretty straightforward. Add a triangle on that side. Now what I have left is 1, 2 to 1. So if I multi-cut this to that, that'll give me 2 faces to 1 face, or 2 faces to 2 faces. Weld there, weld there, and then that gives me both sides. And if I want to get a little picky, I can recurve that something close to the way the other side's looking. And so we have all these wonderful pieces here, and I can just about say that if I go to UV shell, that's going to be on one half, that's going to be on the other half. So if I leave this as the seam, what I can do is come in over to the edge and take all the edges that are on this side, like this, and sew them together. No, I understand you're not happy about it. And then I'll take the edges that are on this side, sew them together, including those 2 uncooperative ones. Then if I go to the UV shell, they'll still pull apart, and when I unfold them, they should still come out straight. All right. So switch to object mode, switch back normal, and that all came back together again. These edges here, U and U, so should be just fine. Let's see, vertex. All right. That was way more frustrating than it should have been, but it is what it is. That's a little off. It's okay. Got our pieces. UVs should be good. So that last piece is a very good example of stumbling through a problem and just using tools in order to find a solution. Even if it's not the greatest solution, it will suffice to get the job done. So those two pieces, that'll work okay. So let's end this with just pulling all this stuff back together again, because if you look, we currently have a serious mess. I'm going to go ahead and lay all these pieces out. Edit, delete all by type history, just to clean things up and optimize it a little bit. And then you'll see that these things are rotated and turned every which way. We have our small stuff, medium stuff, big stuff. As far as something that you could probably throw in a substance painter just fine, this would work. If you were trying to do this a little more manually, aligning it a little bit better would probably be in your best interest. What I mean by that? Well, we switch to shell mode. Pull these guys out. Let's just rotate them around, get them kind of close to neutral. And then once you get to this point, you can straighten the UVs and then unfold or unfold along. Let's say and then unfold. So straighten UVs and unfold, and that will almost align them a little more neutrally. So do the same thing here. So this is just basic rotating. So I can straighten those UVs and unfold, or straighten and unfold along. Command Z, let's try it this way. Yeah, something along those lines. Or even optimize. Both will work. Here. Yeah. Main thing being trying to keep that center point. Neutral, straighten, unfold along, optimize, straighten, unfold along, optimize. And that seems like it's holding on to that vertical pretty neutrally. This one wants to be a little bit tricky. There we go. This section's good. It could be rotated if I hold down J. Rotate it vertical if I wanted to. That looks pretty straight. Pull these. Section, section, to section. Yep. Yep. So it's just repeating the process. Straighten, unfold along, optimize. You still go back to unfold, but sometimes optimize will be a little, I guess you would use the word, less destructive than an actual full unfold, and still can accomplish the same thing. That's just going to have a little wave to it. That's just fine. Top piece, side pieces. And then we have all this wonderful stuff down here. Straighten and fold along. Yeah, it's just going to need to be the way it is. That's fine. This one, flatten out. Good. Good. Yeah, round shape's not going to be able to do much with. This one, straighten. Yep. So all the parts and pieces nicely ordered, nicely arranged. Again, straighten, unfold along, optimize. This got shifted somehow or another. Straighten, unfold. Just gonna leave it like that. Think what it is. That's what it is. Yeah, that's it. So this edge here is not sewn together, and then this. I don't know where you went. These two edges need to be sewn. All right. So now, if we select everything, oh, let's see you. Use that grid as a reference. That's pretty well close. Alright, take all these parts and pieces, hit layout, and what you'll notice is it will now pack them all together. Still maybe not the most efficient, but everything is by default will be arranged kind of at 90 degrees, which will keep things nicely oriented as far as using the different painting programs, Substance Painter, even Photoshop if you needed to, as far as texturing this thing. So one thing, it's kind of I wouldn't say it's trivial, but it's one thing to be noticed about is most all the time when we're doing texturing, you're going to want some sort of a padding or a gap between these shells. And so if you look at these two, there is absolutely zero padding between the way these shells are, and these things are just about touching. If we were using smaller textures or something like that, there's no way that a pixel is going to fit between these shapes. So what we want to do is make sure there's some space between each one of these shells. If we're using the layout command like we have been, if we actually go to modify and layout, if we look at the options, what you'll see is there's a layout settings here, and you have padding units, pixels versus UV. I'm going to select UV 1024. This doesn't only matters if you're using the tile, the other way of doing it. But shell padding, you can change it to different numbers. So for example, if I was to use, say, 0.1 and hit apply, select the objects first, hit apply, it's going to put 0.1 distance between every single shell. That's a little bit overkill, right? You know, they need to be kind of crammed in here. So if I try putting 0.001 in here, we get this, and you can start to see where there is a little bit of a gap. So I'd probably say something between 0.001 and 0.005 would give you a pretty good gap, because you know when you're using a higher res texture, it's not going to be that big of a deal, and you can actually get away with some gaps like this. But you do not want to let your shells be overlapping. I'm going to go ahead and say this is good enough for what we're doing, and say this is a good shell. So the last thing that I'm going to want to do before we get to the baking section is go ahead with this, go to select, and actually let's go to object mode. I'm just going to select all the objects and go to mesh display, and I want to go to set soft and harden edges and make sure that is set to texture borders, and hit apply, and then hit close. And what that's going to do is it's going to smooth all my edges, or should smooth all my edges except for the ones that are texture borders. So you may have to do this on individual objects. So mesh display, soften harden edges, mesh display, soften harden edges. And you'll notice the shading will change each time you do this. So in this case, the object, hit F, and we look at it, you can see where it's firmed up the edges and even shows a little seam back here. We need that so that we don't get the baking errors. For the next part. We'll go to channel blocks. Yep, so see this says soft hard edge. That means that I've applied it to it. So soft hard edge, this guide hasn't been done yet. Mesh tools. Boom. Yep, done. So last thing I'm going to do is just go ahead, select everything on my back at my channel box. And we can reset all the transforms to 0. For some reason this one, oh, that was created over there. That's why it's going to be difficult. That's fine. We'll center it up as well. And so now we have our complete UV'd low poly object. The next one I'll go into is how to explode a mesh and bake it.